I stood backstage at the National Innovation Awards, watching my brother accept the trophy for my invention, the one I'd spent 3 years perfecting in our garage. He smiled at the cameras, thanked our parents, and never mentioned my name once. That's when I pulled out my phone and pressed send on the email that would change everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this nightmare began, because what happened next that night? Nobody saw it coming. Before we continue, subscribe to Silken Real Life Revenge. Click the notification bell because we have new stories every single day. Leave a like and tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. My name is Kyle Anderson, and I'm 58 years old. I've always been the quiet brother, the one who preferred building things to talking about them. My younger brother, Derek, was 42 and everything I wasn't. He was loud, confident, and knew exactly how to charm anyone in a room. Growing up in Austin, Texas, people always compared us. Derek got the attention. I got the basement workshop. And honestly, I was fine with that. I loved creating things, solving problems, making ideas come alive with my hands. That's all I ever wanted to do. 3 years ago, I started working on something special. It was a water filtration device, small enough to fit in your pocket but powerful enough to purify dirty water in seconds. I know that sounds simple, but the technology behind it was complicated. I spent nights reading research papers, days testing prototypes, and weekends failing over and over again. Mom would bring me sandwiches to the garage. Dad would peek in and shake his head, probably thinking I was wasting my time. Derek never came down there. He was too busy with his marketing job downtown. The idea came to me after watching a documentary about communities without clean water. Kids getting sick. Families walking miles just for dirty river water. I thought, what if I could create something affordable and simple? Something anyone could use? I started sketching designs, ordering parts online with money from my warehouse job, and slowly, piece by piece, the device took shape. It looked like a thick pen at first, then like a small flashlight. By month 6, I had something that actually worked. I tested it everywhere. Creek water, pond water, even the disgusting puddle behind the grocery store. Every time, the device turned murky water crystal clear in under 30 seconds. I couldn't believe it. I'd actually done it. I ran inside to show Mom, and she cried. She called Dad, and he actually smiled. Then Derek came home from work. I showed him the device, explained how it worked, demonstrated it with tap water I'd mixed with dirt. He watched quietly, nodded a few times, then said, "That's pretty cool, little brother. You might actually have something here." Those words felt good. Derek rarely complimented me. I went to bed that night feeling proud, like maybe I wasn't just the weird brother who lived in the garage anymore. I didn't know then that Derek had taken photos of my device, my notes, and my prototypes while I was celebrating with Mom and Dad. I didn't know he'd already started planning how to steal everything I'd worked for. Trust is a funny thing. You don't realize how much you've given someone until they break it completely. 2 weeks later, Derek asked if he could help me. He said his marketing experience could get investors interested, maybe even help me start a company. I was terrible at business stuff. I barely understood patents or presentations. So I said yes. I gave him access to everything: my designs, my test results, my supplier contacts. We started meeting in his apartment, planning how to pitch the device. Derek suggested we call it the Aquapure pen. I liked that name. It sounded professional, real. We worked together for 3 months. Derek handled the business side while I kept improving the device. He scheduled meetings with potential investors, created presentations, and built a website. I thought we were a team. I thought this was finally something we were building together, something that would make our parents proud of both of us. I should have noticed the warning signs. The way Derek started calling it our invention, instead of Kyle's invention. How he scheduled investor meetings without telling me. How he'd change my technical explanations to sound simpler, less detailed. The first investor meeting happened without me. Derek said I was too nervous, that he'd handle it and report back. I was nervous, so I believed him. He came home excited, saying the investor loved the concept but wanted more market research. The second meeting, same thing. The third meeting, Derek said the investors specifically didn't want to meet me because too many cooks spoil the broth. I felt hurt but trusted him. He was my brother. He wouldn't lie to me. Right. Then Derek announced we'd been accepted into the National Innovation Competition. It was huge, inventors from across the country competing for recognition, funding, and media attention. The winner would receive $50,000 and guaranteed meetings with major manufacturers. I was shocked. When had he even applied? Derek explained he'd submitted our application months ago, using all my technical data and his business strategy. He showed me the acceptance letter. My name was on it, listed as technical lead. His name was listed as project director. Something felt wrong about those titles, but Derek assured me it was just formalities for the application. We were still partners, still brothers, still in this together. The competition was in 6 months. We needed to prepare our presentation, refine the prototype, and practice our pitch. Derek said he'd handle the presentation since he was better with public speaking. I'd be there on stage with him, answering technical questions. That made sense. I hated public speaking anyway. I went back to my garage workshop, making the device even better. Over the next few months, something changed. Derek became secretive. He'd take phone calls outside, close his laptop when I entered the room, and schedule business meetings he wouldn't explain. When I asked about competition updates, he'd say everything was under control. Trust me, he'd say. I'm handling it. Meanwhile, I perfected the AquaPure pen. I reduced the filtration time to 20 seconds, made it cheaper to manufacture, and even added a durability feature so it could survive being dropped or submerged. 2 months before the competition, Derek sat me down. He looked serious, uncomfortable even. He said we needed to talk about ownership. The investors were concerned about having 2 equal partners, especially since I had no business experience. They wanted clear leadership. Derek suggested we restructure. He'd own 60%, I'd own 40%. It was just paperwork, he said. Nothing would really change. I felt sick. 40% of my own invention. But Derek explained it was necessary for funding, that investors wanted to see clear management structure. I didn't sign anything that day. I told Derek I needed to think about it. He got angry, said I was being emotional and unrealistic. Did I want this invention to succeed or not? Did I want to help people or just build toys in the garage forever? His words stung because they hit my deepest insecurity. Maybe I was just a builder, not a businessman. Maybe I needed Derek more than he needed me. That night, I almost signed the papers. Almost. But something made me pause. I called my uncle, my dad's brother who was a patent attorney in Houston. I explained the situation without mentioning Derek's name. Uncle Frank went quiet for a long time, then asked if I'd filed any patents yet. I said no, Derek was handling that. Uncle Frank's voice got sharp. He said I needed to file immediately, that without a patent, anyone could claim my invention as their own. Even family. Especially family. He offered to help me file an emergency patent application. I did it the next day, listing myself as sole inventor. I didn't tell Derek about the patent. Something told me to keep it secret. Meanwhile, he kept pushing me to sign the ownership papers. I kept stalling, saying I wanted to wait until after the competition. Derek grew frustrated but eventually dropped it. As competition day approached, he became almost friendly again. We practiced the presentation together. He'd do the introduction and business pitch. I'd explain the technology and do the live demonstration. Finally, we were acting like brothers again. I wanted to believe things would be okay. 1 week before the competition, I discovered the truth. Derek had left his laptop open on the kitchen table. I wasn't trying to snoop, I just saw my invention's name on the screen and moved closer. It was an email to the competition judges. My blood went cold as I read it. Derek had submitted a revised application listing himself as sole inventor. My name had been completely removed. The technical documents were still mine, the data was still mine, but according to this application, Derek Anderson had created the Aquapure pen alone. I took photos of everything. The emails, the revised application, the correspondence with investors where Derek described himself as the inventor, and me as a helpful assistant. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold my phone steady. 3 years of work. 3 years of late nights, failed experiments, and finally success. And my own brother was stealing it. I could have confronted him right then. I could have screamed, fought, told our parents. But something stopped me. Instead, I started planning. I called Uncle Frank again. I sent him everything, the patent application in my name, Derek's emails, the original competition application showing my involvement, and the revised one removing me. Uncle Frank was quiet for a long time after reviewing everything. Then he said, "Kyle, your brother is committing fraud. This is serious." He explained that we could notify the competition organizers immediately, but there was another option. We could wait. Let Derek go through with his plan, let him accept credit publicly, then expose him with undeniable proof. The risk was huge. If we waited and something went wrong, Derek might successfully steal my invention. But Uncle Frank explained that catching him in the act, especially at a public event with media coverage, would make the evidence impossible to deny. It would also show the pattern of deception, making any future legal claims from Derek worthless. We prepared everything. Affidavits, time-stamped photos of my workshop and prototypes, testimony from Mom about the timeline, and most importantly, my approved patent application showing sole inventorship. Competition day arrived. The National Innovation Awards were held at a huge conference center in Dallas. Hundreds of inventors, investors, and journalists filled the space. Derek wore a new suit. He was excited, confident, talking to everyone about his invention. I wore jeans and a button-up shirt, carrying the Aquapure pen in my pocket and a folder of evidence in my bag. We were scheduled to present in the afternoon, with winners announced that evening. Derek kept telling me to relax, to smile, that this was our big day. Our presentation came. Derek walked on stage like he owned the place. He talked about identifying a global need, designing a solution, overcoming technical challenges. He used words like, "I developed," and "my innovation," and "my vision." I stood beside him like a prop, like scenery. When it came time for the technical demonstration, Derek handed me the device like I was his assistant. I purified the dirty water they'd prepared, showing how clear it became. The judges clapped. Photographers took pictures. And through it all, Derek never mentioned my name once. That evening, we sat in the auditorium for the awards ceremony. 500 people dressed in formal clothes, waiting to see who'd win. Derek was restless, confident. He'd already planned his acceptance speech, he told me. He'd thank our parents, his mentors, maybe even mention his helpful assistant. I nodded, my finger hovering over the send button on my phone. Uncle Frank was ready. The competition organizers had been quietly briefed. Everything was in place. Then they announced the winner, Derek Anderson, for the Aquapure pen water filtration device. Derek jumped up, hugged me like we were celebrating together, then rushed to the stage. The spotlight hit him. He accepted the trophy, waved to the crowd, and started his speech. He thanked everyone who believed in his vision. He talked about his journey, his inspiration, his late nights developing the technology. I watched from my seat, and something strange happened. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt calm. Because I knew what was coming next. Derek was halfway through his speech when the event coordinator walked on stage. She whispered something to Derek. His smile faltered. She whispered again, and this time she took the microphone. The room went silent. She explained that new information had come to light regarding the invention's true creator. A patent filing, submitted months ago, listed Kyle Anderson as sole inventor. Additional evidence including time-stamped documentation, witness testimony, and original design notebooks confirmed that Kyle, not Derek, had created the Aquapure pen. The room erupted. Cameras flashed toward me. Derek stood frozen on stage, holding a trophy that was no longer his. Security escorted Derek out. The competition organizers apologized to me publicly and asked me to come to the stage. I walked up slowly, past journalists shouting questions, past Derek being questioned by officials, past our parents in the audience who looked completely shocked. I accepted the trophy, gave a short speech about perseverance and protecting your work, then donated half my prize money to water charity organizations. The other half went to manufacturing my invention properly, under my own company name. Derek tried calling me for weeks afterward. I never answered. Our parents were devastated, caught between two sons. Eventually, Mom understood. Dad took longer. The Aquapure pen launched 6 months later and became successful beyond anything I'd imagined. Derek faced fraud charges and lost his marketing job. Last I heard, he'd moved to another state. People ask if I regret exposing him publicly instead of privately. I don't. Because some betrayals are so deep, so calculated, they deserve to be seen. My brother didn't just steal my work. He tried to erase me completely. And the sweetest revenge wasn't humiliating him. It was proving I never needed him at all.